wabarakatuh. Hello everyone. Welcome to the third session of seminar proposal, seminar on ELT. Okay. Today we will make a presentation for the English Education Department, Faculty of Teacher Training and Education, Universitas Sultan Atmaja Desa. The Honorably Professor Dr. Safrizal MPD as our lecturer for today's session, and to all of my fellow friends, English Education College, thank you for being here. Okay, my name is Ernanda Ramadhani, and it is my pleasure to be your moderator for today's seminar. Okay, let's start from the first presenter. Okay, the first presenter, it will be Intan. Intan, Intan Kurniastuti, silakan.
Okay, thank you, moderator. Wait. Okay, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good evening, everyone. My name is Intan Kurniastuti. I would like to present my research proposal entitled Bridging the Gap Between Exam-Oriented English Teaching and Students' Communicative Needs in Indonesian EFL Classrooms. And today I will explain the background, research question, objectives, and the methodology of my study. So the first slide is background of the study. English plays a very important role in global communication and future careers. However, in many Indonesian classroom, English teaching is still focused on exam preparation. Students often learn grammar, vocabulary, and reading skills mainly to pass tests, even though they may get good scores. Many of them still feel not confident when they have to speak English in real life situations. In addition, classroom activities are often limited to written exercise with fewer opportunities for communication practice. This situation creates a gap between what students learn in school and what they actually need in real life. Therefore, this study aims to explore that gap between teaching practice and students' communicative needs. So in this study, I formulate three research questions. First, how is English teaching implemented in the classroom? And second, what are the students' communicative needs in learning English? And third, to what extent is there a gap between teaching practice and students' communicative needs? So there are the objectives of this study are aligned with research question. First, to identify how English teaching is implemented in the classroom. Second, to explore students' communicative needs in learning English. And third, to analyze the gap between teaching practice and students' communicative needs. So the objectives of this study is based on the concept of communicative competence introduced by Michael Sennell and Meryl Swain, which explain that language learning is not only about grammar, but also about the ability to use language in real communication. In addition, Jack C. Rickards emphasized communicative language teaching, which focus on meaningful interaction and real-life language use. However, in exam-oriented classrooms, teaching often focuses more on accuracy rather than communication. This may limit students' ability and confidence to use English in real-life situations. Therefore, this study focused on four main aspects: communicative competence, communicative language teaching, exam-oriented teaching, and students' communicative needs. So there are several previous studies support this research. First, Suryani and Widianto found that students are more motivated when learning is connected to real-life communication. Second, Emma Liana found that English teaching in Indonesia is still mostly teacher-centered, which limits students' participation. Third, Sulistyo found that English teaching is still influenced by exam-oriented system. However, most of these studies focus on teaching methods or motivation separately. There is still limited research that specifically examines the gap between teaching practice and students' communicative needs, which is the focus of this study. So for the research methodology, the study I used a qualitative descriptive design because it aims to explore and understand the gap between teaching practice and students' communicative needs in depth. The participants of this study include English teacher or teachers and senior high school students because they are directly involved in the teaching and learning process. The research will be conducted in a senior high school in Indonesia. To collect the data, I will use three techniques. First, interview to explore students' teacher perspective. Second, classroom observation to see how teaching is implemented. And third, documentation to support the data, such as lesson plans or teaching materials. For data analysis, I will use three steps: data reduction, data display, and conclusion drawing in order to identify patterns and interpret the findings clearly. These methods is expected to provide a deeper understanding of the gap between teaching and communicative needs. Okay, so that's all for my presentation. Thank you for your attention, and I welcome any question or suggestion. Thank you. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Okay. Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. That's great presentation, Intan. So we go to the second presenter, that is Raya Sandra. Please start.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good evening, respected lecturers and examiners. First of all, I would like to express my deepest gratitude to Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala, who has given us His blessings, health, and opportunity, so that we can gather here today in this good condition. Secondly, I would like to thank the honorable lecturers for giving me the opportunity to present my research proposal. Let me introduce myself. My name is Raya Sandra Wiraksa from the English Education Department. Today, I would like to present my research proposal entitled "Exploring Factors Affecting Students' Anxiety in English-Speaking Classroom." Before I begin my presentation, I would like to briefly explain the reason why I choose this topic. Speaking is one of the most important skills in learning English, but many students still feel anxious when they are asked to speak in the classroom. This anxiety affects their confidence and participation. Therefore, I'm interested in exploring the factors that influence student anxiety in speaking English. So, for the background, speaking is one of the most important skills in learning English because it allows students to communicate their ideas and opinions. However, many students still face difficulties when they are asked to speak English in the classroom. One of the main problems is speaking anxiety, where students feel nervous, afraid, and uncomfortable. This anxiety can affect their confidence and participation during speaking activities. Based on the background, it can be seen that many students feel afraid to speak English. They are afraid of making mistakes, being judged, or feeling embarrassed in front of their classmates. As a result, students tend to be passive and avoid speaking activities in the classroom. So based on the problem, this study focused on 3 research questions. First, what factors affect student anxiety and English speaking classroom? Second, how does anxiety influence student participation in speaking activities? And third, how do students perceive their anxiety when speaking English? The objective of this study are first to identify the factors affecting student anxiety, second to analyze how anxiety influences their participation, and third to explore student perceptions of their speaking anxiety. This study is expected to give several benefits for students. It can help improve their confidence in speaking English. For teacher, it can help them develop better teaching strategies to reduce anxiety. And for future researchers, this study can be used reference for further research. So, the literature review based on previous studies, speaking requires both linguistic ability and confidence. Speaking anxiety is influenced by internal factors such as lack of vocabulary and low confidence, and external factors such as classroom environment and peer reactions. These factors can affect students' speaking performance and participation. This study used a qualitative descriptive approach. The purpose is to explore student experiences and factors affecting their anxiety in speaking English. The participation are students in English speaking classes selected using purposive sampling. For the data collection, the data will be collected through 3 techniques. First, observation to see student behavior in the classroom. Second, interview to explore student feelings and experiences. And third, open-ended questionnaires to support the data. The data will be analyzed using 3 steps: data reduction, which means selecting important data display, which means organizing the data, and conclusion drawing to interpret the findings. So, in conclusion, speaking anxiety is a common problem faced by students in English speaking classroom. Understanding the factors affecting this anxiety is important to improve students' confidence and participation. This study aims to provide a deeper understanding of that issue. That's all my presentation, and thank you very much for your attention. I'm open any question or suggestion. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Okay, Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you for your presentation, Raya. That's good presentation. And
My turn.
oh, Dev, where Novelia? Okay, I think we go to the next presenter, the 5th presenter, that is Darien. Okay.
Okay, good evening, everyone. My name is Darin Perianti from English Education Department. First of all, I would like to thank you to the lecturer and the moderator for giving me the opportunity to present my research proposal. Before I begin, I would like to apologize because I'm not able to use the required presentation background due to technical issue. Okay, now move to my research proposal. The title is Investigating the Effectiveness of Student-Centered Learning in English Language Teaching. Next slide. Okay, so the first one is background of the research. In recent years, there has been a shift from teacher-centered learning to student-centered learning in English language teaching. However, in reality, traditional methods are still widely used, where teachers dominate the class and students tend to be passive. This condition can limit the students' critical thinking skills and their engagement. Student-centered learning focuses on active participation, independent learning, and the teacher position or the teacher role as a facilitator. This is especially important in higher education, where students tend to be expected to be more critical and responsible. Next slide. The previous slide. Okay. The problem statement. Although student-centered learning is widely promoted, its implementation is still not optimal. Many lecturers continue to use teacher-centered methods, which limit student participation and engagement. There is a gap between theory and actual practice in real life, especially in Indonesian higher education. Lecturers face challenges such as lack of experience, difficulty managing interactive classes, and students often struggle with low confidence and passive learning habits. Next slide. Okay. So the research gap, two research gap. The first is highlight the benefit, but mostly focus on questions first from students. And the second one, studies in Asian higher education contexts are still limited. Next slide. For the research questions, there are three research questions. The first one is how is student-centered learning implemented in English language teaching? The second one is what are the effects of student-centered learning on students' engagement in English language teaching? And the last one is how does student-centered learning influence students' English learning outcomes? And the objectives is to analyze the impact of student-centered learning on students' engagement, and the lesson is to evaluate the influence of student-centered learning on students' learning outcomes. Next slide. Okay. For the theoretical framework, this study is based on the concept of student-centered learning, where students actively construct their own knowledge, and teachers just act as facilitator for their students. It is also supported by constructivist theory, which emphasizes learning through experience and interactions. The key characteristics of student-centered learning include active learning, collaboration, learner, learner autonomy and authentic tasks. In English language teaching, student-centered learning promotes the development of communicative competence through interactive activities like discussions and role plays. Next slide. Okay, for the methodology, this research is qualitative descriptive design, and the participants are university students and selected through purposive sampling, and the data will be collected through observation, interviews, documentation, and apa ya? Yeah, and documentation. The data will be analyzed using thematic analysis, and techniques such as triangulation and member checking will be used to ensure validity. Next slide. Okay, for the research scope and limitation. For the research scope, this study focused on implementation on student-centered learning in English language teaching. The research is conducted in higher education context, and it examines how student-centered learning is implemented, students' engagement, students' learning outcomes. For the research limitations, the study used qualitative approach, so the research will not be the same for everyone, and the research is limited to a small numbers of participants, which may not represent all students or lecturers in the university, and data are based on participants' perceptions, which can be subjective, and time constraints limit deeper observations of long-term student-centered learning implementation. Next slide. So in conclusion, student-centered learning has strong potential to improve student engagement and learning outcomes in English language teaching. However, its implementations will face a challenge both from lecturers and students. Therefore, better strategies and gradual adaptation are needed to apply student-centered learning effectively in classroom settings. Okay, next slide. This is my references for this research. Next slide. Okay, that's all for my presentation. If you have questions or suggestions, you may ask or tell me. For your attention, I would like to return the time to the moderator.
Okay, thank you. That's great presentation. So we're going to the next presenter, that is Novelia. The time is yours.
Okay, everyone. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good evening, everyone, and respected lecturers and our participants. First of all, I would like to introduce myself. My name is Novella Fiskali Sinaga, and today I will present my research entitled "The Correlation Between Classroom Interaction and Speaking Confidence Among FL University Students in Tangerang City." Okay, so move to the background. First, let me explain the background of the study. Speaking is one of the most important skill in learning English, but it's also one of the most difficult skill for FL students. Many students feel afraid of making mistake, and they also have limited vocabulary. Because of that, their confidence is speaking loud. In addition, many classrooms are still teacher-centered, so students do not get enough opportunity to interact. Actually, classroom interaction is very important because it can help students practice speaking and improve their confidence. And the next is research gap and novelty. Based on the previous condition, there are some gaps. First, many classrooms are still teacher-centered. Second, lack of interaction can reduce student speaking confidence. And therefore, this study focused on the correlation between classroom interaction and speaking confidence, especially in FL University students. And research objective and question. This study has three main objectives: interaction. Second, to identify the level of students' confidence. Out is a correlation between the two variables. Based on this, the first is what is the level of the classroom interaction, and the second, what is the level of speaking confidence, and the third is there a correlation between both variables? And the next is critical grammar. This study is supported by three main theories. First, Vygotsky's which explain that learning happens through interaction. And second is Bandura self-theory, which states that confidence affects performance. Then the third is Long's interaction hypothesis, which explain that interaction can improve language acquisition. So these theories support the idea that interaction is related to speaking confidence. And the next is the hypothesis. In the study, there are two hypotheses. The null hypothesis states that there is no significant correlation between classroom interaction and speaking confidence. And the alternative hypothesis states that there is a significant correlation between the two variables. And the next is the previous study. There are other previous studies that support this research. For example, Kania found that peer interaction improves speaking skill. And the second, Hung and Hyun show that interactive activity improves communication. And the Coral found that interaction increases confidence. And Liu explained that anxiety reduces participant. And McCroskey state that anxiety affects speaking confidence. And the study showed that interaction and confidence are closely related. And the next is concept. This is the conceptual framework of the study. Classroom instruction is the independent variable X, and speaking confidence is dependent variable Y. The idea is more interaction leads to more practice reduce anxiety, and less anxiety increase confidence. And the last is the study uses a quantitative approach with a correlation design. The population is FL University students in Tangerang with a sample of around 30 to 40 students using purposive sampling. Data will be collected using a questionnaire with a Likert scale from 1 to 5. For data analysis, I will use descriptive statistics to find the mean and percentage and Pearson correlation using SPSS to find the relationship between the variables. I think that's all from me. Thank you very much. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
All right. Thank you, Novelia. That's a good presentation too. We're going to the continue Olivia presentation for. So Olivia, can you continue?
Okay, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hello everyone. respect lecturer, and all participants. My name is Olivia Putri. Today, I would like to present my seminar proposal entitled The Relationship Between Speaking Anxiety and Student Speaking Performance in Junior High School X in Serang. So, English is an international language used for communication around the world. In Indonesia, English is learned as a foreign language from elementary school until senior high school. Students are expected to master four skills, that is listening, speaking, reading, and writing. However, speaking is often considered the most difficult skill. Many students feel nervous, shy, and not confident when they are asked to speak English. They are afraid of making mistakes in grammar, pronunciation, and vocabulary. They also worry that their friends will laugh at them or judge them. Because of this, many students prefer to stay silent. Another problem is the lack of practice. Students usually only use English in the classroom and not in daily life. In addition, the social environment sometimes does not support them. For example, when students try to speak English, others may respond negatively. Because of this condition, students develop speaking anxiety, which may affect their speaking performance. Therefore, this research is conducted to find out the relationship between speaking anxiety and student speaking performance. The next is problems. Based on the background, there are several problems. That is, students feel anxious when speaking English, they have low confidence, they are afraid of making mistakes, they rarely practice speaking, and their speaking performance is still low. Next slide, please. This research is limited to speaking anxiety as the independent variable and speaking performance as the dependent variable. It focuses on the relationship between these two variables in junior high school students. Next slide, please. The next is research question. This research tries to answer the question, that is, what is level of students speaking anxiety, how is student speaking performance, and is there a relationship between speaking anxiety and speaking performance? The objective of this research are to identify students speaking anxiety, to analyze their speaking performance, and to find out the relationship between both variables. The significance, this research is expected to give benefits for students, teachers, and future researchers. For students, it can help them understand their anxiety and improve their confidence. And for teachers, it can help them create a more supportive learning environment. And for the researchers, it can be used as a reference for future studies. Next slide, please. Theoretical framework. Speaking anxiety is a feeling of fear, nervousness, or worry when someone has to speak in a foreign language. According to Harris, it is a feeling of tension and fear in language learning situation. Speaking anxiety can be caused by fear of making mistakes, fear of negative evaluation, lack of confidence, limited vocabulary, and lack of practice. Speaking performance is the ability of students to communicate ideas in English. It includes pronunciation, vocabulary, grammar, fluency, and comprehension. Students with good speaking performance can communicate clearly and effectively. Next slide, please. In this research, speaking anxiety is the independent variable and speaking performance is the dependent variable. Students with high anxiety may avoid speaking and have lower performance. On the other hand, students with low anxiety may feel more confident and perform better. So, it is assumed that speaking anxiety influences speaking performance. Next slide, please. The null hypothesis states that there is no relationship between speaking anxiety and speaking performance. The alternative hypothesis that states that there is a relationship between the two variables. Next slide, please. This research used a quantitative method because it used numerical data to analyze the relationship between variables. And this research used a correlational design to find out whether there is a relationship between speaking anxiety and speaking performance. Great, next slide, please. The population of this research is junior high school students, and the sample consists of 30 students selected using simple random sampling. It means all students have the same change to be selected. All right, next slide, please. This research used two instruments. The first is a questionnaire adapted from FLCAS, which consists of 20 statements to measure speaking anxiety using a Likert scale. The second is a speaking task to measure students' speaking performance based on pronunciation, vocabulary, grammar, fluency, and comprehension. And the next slide, please. And the data will be collected by distributing the questionnaire, conducting the speaking test, recording students' score, and collecting all the data for analysis. The data will be analyzed using descriptive statistical analysis to describe the data, such as mean and standard deviation. Then, correlation analysis using Pearson product moment will be used to find out the relationship between speaking anxiety and speaking performance. The significant level used in this research is 0.05. Next slide, please. And for the scoring system, students' speaking performance will be assessed based on pronunciation, vocabulary, grammar, fluency, and comprehension. Each aspect is scored from 1 to 5, and the total score will be used to determine students' speaking performance. Next slide, please. So in conclusion, this research aims to find out the relationship between speaking anxiety and student speaking performance. It is expected that this research can give useful contribution to English learning. Thank you for your attention. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Okay, thank you, Olivia. Next, we going to the sixth presenter, that is Aninda. Aninda, time is yours.
For the timer, timernya apa enggak? Emang kayak gitu nggak apa? Ini lanjut aja kah, moderator? Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good evening. Thank you for Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good evening, Honorable lecturer and my friends. Thank you, moderator, for the opportunity. Today, I would like to present my research proposal entitled "The Influence of YouTube-Based Learning Media on the Speaking Skill of Grade 8 Students at SMP and X." Next, please. For the background, speaking is one of the main skills students need to learn. However, many students still have difficulty in speaking because they often feel shy, afraid to making mistakes, and have limited vocabulary. In reality, in classrooms, some students are still often passive and not confident to speak. This problem affects their ability to communicate in English. Therefore, it is important to find an effective learning media to help students improve their speaking skill. Based on data from Compass.com 2025, around 53% of people use YouTube, especially in this digital era. This shows that YouTube is a popular platform that can be used as a learning media because it provides audio visual content. This research gap in this research that various studies about YouTube in teaching speaking at junior high school level are still limited and there is no research conducted at SMP and X. So this research aims to find out the effect of YouTube-based learning media on students speaking at SMP and X. Next slide, please. There are 4 research questions. The first is how is speaking interaction conducted using YouTube-based learning media? The second is how is student speaking ability before and after using YouTube-based learning media? The third is how is the effect of YouTube-based learning media on student speaking ability? And the last, how do students respond to this use of YouTube-based learning media in speaking instruction? Next slide, please. Okay, for the objective of this research, the first is to describe how speaking interaction is conducted using YouTube-based learning media. The second is to measure student speaking ability before and after the implementation of YouTube-based learning media. And the third is to determine the effect of YouTube-based learning media on student speaking ability. And the last, to analyze student response toward the use of YouTube-based learning media in speaking interaction. Next slide, please. Okay, for the theoretical foundation, this research based on the connective theory of multimedia learning by Mayer 2001. This theory says that students learn better from picture and sound. YouTube is an audiovisual media, so it can help students understand English better. For the speaking skill is the ability to express ideas and communicate in English that the other can understand. According to Brown 2004 and Luoma 2004, it refers to student ability to speak English more clearly and easily understand, include pronunciation, vocabulary, fluency, and conversation. Next slide, please. Okay, for the relevant research, in this research, use 5. The first is Fadilah and Rusmiyati 2022 studies that that YouTube improved pronunciation and vocabulary. The second is Menwati et al. 2020 found a positive effect on speaking ability. The third is Rahayu and Mabrurah 2023 found improvement in student confidence and speaking skill. The fourth is the Tristiana and Swando 2020 found improvement in pronunciation and fluency. And the last is Gunada and Wadan 2017 found improvement in pronunciation, fluency, and oral expression. Next slide, please. Okay, here the conceptual framework. This research is based on the cognitive theory of multimedia learning. The assumption is that audiovisual media help students understand, remember, and practice language better. And here there is research problem that therefore, how is YouTube implements in speaking class? The second is how is student speaking skill before and after treatment? And the third is there any effect of YouTube on speaking skill? And the last is for how do students respond to YouTube learning? So there's independent variable. There's interest or motivation, curiosity, practice opportunity, enjoyment, and learning improvement. For the dependent variable, there's pronunciation, vocabulary, fluency, and comprehension. Next slide, please. Okay, for the research hypothesis, the null hypothesis, there is no effect of YouTube-based learning media on student speaking skill, and the alternative hypothesis, there is an effect of YouTube-based learning media on student speaking skill. Next slide, please. Okay, for the methodology, the population and sample population is grade 8 student of SMP and X. The sample is the research use two classes, which is experimental and control class, and using cluster sampling technique for the type and research data. The research use quantitative data, which is pretest, post-test, and questionnaire, and also observation data, supporting data. The primary data is test, questionnaires, and observation. The secondary data is from book, journal, and document. For the research type, uh, using quantitative method, quasi-experimental design, pre-test, and post-test control group to find the effect of YouTube-based learning. And the last is data analysis. The data analysis include descriptive statistics such as mean and gain score, and inferential statistics such as independent t-test and effect size. Okay, that's all from me. Thank you very much for your attention. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Okay. So thank you, Aninda. The next presenter will be Aura. Aura, the time is yours.
Thank you, moderator. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good evening, everyone. My name is Aura Alvenisa. First of all, I would like to thank you for giving me the opportunity to present my research proposal. Today, I would like to present my research entitled The Effect of Reading Comprehension on English Language Achievement of 8th Grade Student at SMP Negeri 1 Ciras. This study focused on examining how student ability to understand writing text contribute to their overall performance in learning English. Next slide, please. So, English is one of the most widely used languages in the world and plays an important role in education, technology, and global communication. Because of this, English is taught as a compulsory subject in many countries, including Indonesia. Students are expected to master four main skills like listening, speaking, reading, and writing. Among these, reading is considered very important because most learning materials, instruction, and assessment are presented in written form. Next slide, please. Through reading, students can gain information, develop their vocabulary, and improve their understanding of various topics. However, reading is not only about recognizing words or sentences. Students must also understand the meaning of the text, which is known as reading comprehension. This skill involves understanding ideas, identifying key points, and interpreting information both explicitly and implicitly. Next slide. In reality, many students still face difficulty in understanding English text. Some students rely too much on translating word on by one instead of trying to understand the overall meaning. This strategy is not effective because it slows down comprehension and often leads to misunderstanding. As a result, students often struggle to answer comprehension questions and have difficult connection ideas within the text. The condition may negatively affect their English achievement, especially in tests what require reading and understanding written materials. Therefore, it is more important to investigate whether reading comprehension has a significant effect on student English learning outcomes. So the purpose of this study is to find out whether reading comprehension has a significant effect on student English achievement. This study aims to provide evidence about how important
reading. Iya salah deh itu. Itunya apa nggak pas? Nggak pas cuy. Maaf ya. Itunya apa sih PPT-nya? Sama yang aku bilang. Iya bentar ya. Coba bisa yang kembali coba. Tolong. Research, limitation. Terus kembali lagi. Problem. Kembali lagi. Background. Abstrak. Oke. Nanti apa sih kayak abstrak sama backgroundnya aku gabung ya, Lutna. Ulangin ya. Bentar. Coba bisa. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good evening, everyone. First of all, I would like to express my gratitude to the lecturer and all participants who have given me the opportunity to present my proposal. In this opportunity, I would like to present my research entitled The Effect of Reading Comprehension on English Language Achievement of a Grade Student at SMP Negeri 1 Ciras. Next slide, please. So English is one of the most widely used language in the world. It plays an important role in many aspects of life, such as education, technology, business, and international communication. Because of its importance, English is taught as a compulsory subject in many countries, including Indonesia. In learning English, students are expected to master 4 basic language skills, namely listening, speaking, reading, and writing. Among these skills, reading is considered one of the most important skills because through reading, students can obtain information, understanding in the ideas, and develop their knowledge. However, reading is not only about recognizing words in the text, students also need to understand the meaning of the text, which is known as reading comprehension. Reading comprehension refers to the ability to understand, interpret, and gain meaning from written text. In reality, many students still face difficulties in understanding English text. Some students tend to translate word one by one instead of trying to understand the overall meaning of the text. This condition makes them confused when answering comprehension question. Next slide, please. As a result, their performance in English learning is not optimal. Students who have poor reading comprehension might find it difficult to understand learning materials, complex assignment, and achieve good score in English subject. Based on data from international assessments such as PSEA, Indonesian student reading ability is still relatively low compared to other countries. This shows that reading comprehension is still a serious issue that needs attention. Several previous studies have discussed reading comprehension and its relationship with academic achievement. However, most of those studies focus on reading attitude, motivation, or habits. Research that especially examine the effect of reading comprehension on English language achievement, especially at the junior high school level, is still limited. Therefore, the researchers is interested in conducting by study to examine whether reading comprehension has an effect on student English language achievement. Next slide, please. So based on the background, several problems can be identified. First, many students still have difficulties in understanding English text. Second, students tend to translate words one by one instead of understanding the overall meaning. Third, reading and comprehension ability may influence student English learning achievement. And lastly, the relationship between reading comprehension and English achievement still need further investigation. Next slide, please. To make this research more focused, the researchers limit the study to analyze the effect of reading comprehension on English language achievement of a grade student at SMP Negeri 1 Ciras. Next slide, please. So, based on the limited and above, the researcher's question of the study is there any effect of reading comprehension on student English language achievement? Next slide, please. The purpose of this research is to find out whether reading comprehension has a significant effect on student English language achievement. Next slide, please.
This research is expected to provide several benefits. For students, this research can help them realize the importance of improving their reading comprehension in order to achieve better results in learning English. For teachers, this research can help them understand the role of reading comprehension in students' achievement and encourage them to use more effective teaching strategies. For future researchers, this research can be used as a reference for conducting similar studies. Next slide, please. Reading comprehension is defined as the ability to understand and interpret the meaning of a written text. It involves several skills such as identifying main ideas, finding specific information, understanding vocabulary in context, recognizing reference, and making inference. Students who have good reading comprehension skills are usually able to understand text more effective and answer questions correctly. Next slide, please. This study assumed that reading comprehension plays an important role in student English. Students who have better reading comprehension skills are expected to understand learning materials more easily and perform better in English. Reading comprehension as the dependent variable X influence English language achievement as the dependent variable Y. W. Next slide, please. There are two hypotheses in this study. The null hypothesis states that there is no significant effect of reading comprehension on student English language achievement. The alternative hypothesis states that there is a significant effect of reading comprehension on student English language achievement. Next slide, please. Next slide. Methodology. Oke. So langsung ke conclusion aja. So in conclusion, this research is conducted to examine whether reading comprehension has an effect on student English language achievement. It is expected that the finding of this study will provide useful information for improving English learning, especially in reading comprehension. Thank you very much for your attention. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you, Aura. We going to the next presenter. That will be Sofia Nurmalasari. The time is yours.
Okay, good evening, everyone, respected lecturer and all audience. First of all, I would like to express my gratitude for the opportunity given to me to present my research proposal today. So my name is Open Malasari, and in this session, I will present my proposal. Gimana sih screen ini nggak ada kucing. Okay, I will present my proposal entitled An Analysis of Student Difficulty in Translating English Text into Indonesian. So this study focused on identifying the difficulty faced by students in translation and analyzing the factors that influence this difficulty. First one is background. Translation is an important skill in English, foreign language or EFL. It helps students understand text, improve vocabulary, and express ideas. However, many students still face difficulty in translating English text into Indonesian. Most students tend to translate word for word without understanding the context, resulting in inaccurate and unnatural translation. So the next is problem statement. There are several factors that cause this difficulty. The first is students often have limited focus, so they struggle to find the right words. Second, their understanding of grammar is still weak. So they also have difficulty analyzing sentence structure and understanding context. So all of these factors affect the quality of their translations. So the next is research gap. Many previous studies have discussed student translation errors. However, most of them only focus on identifying the errors. There is still limited research that analyzes the deeper cause of this difficulty, especially related to students' dependence on word-for-word translation in the Indonesian EFL context. So the next is research questions. Based on the background, this study has two main research questions. The first is what the difficulty do students face in translation? The second is what factor cause those difficulty? These questions is why the focus of this study. The next is significance of the study. This study is expected to give several benefits. For students, it can help improve their translation skills. For teachers, it can provide better teaching strategies. For schools, it can improve learning quality. And for researchers, it can be useful reference for the future study. So the next is type of translation. There are two main types of translation discussed in this study. The first is word for word translation, where students translate each word directly. This often leads to incorrect meaning. The second is meaning-based translation, which focus on the message and context, resulting in more natural and accurate translations. So the next is student difficulty. Students face several common difficulty in translation. They often lack vocabulary, have weak grammar understanding, and struggle with sentence structure. In addition, they also have difficulty understanding context, which is very important in translations. So next one is conceptual framework. This study is based on the idea that translation difficulty are influenced by four main factors: sentence structure and understanding. These factors are interconnected and affect how well students can translate a text. So the next is use a qualitative. The participants around 25 to 13 students selected using purposive sampling. The instrument is include translation tests, observation, and documentation. Data are collected through pre-test, learning process, and post-test. So in the participant, EFL student is one class, 25 until 13 students. and selected using purposive sampling. And the criteria is have learned basic translation and still experience translation difficulty. So the next one is the data collection. The data are analyzed by identifying and classifying students' error and into categories such as vocabulary, grammar, sentence structure, and the meaning. So in conclusion, students still face difficulty due to limited language skill and reliance on word-for-word translation. Therefore, meaning-based translation is recommended to improve their ability. Okay, thank you for your attention. That's all from me.
All right, thank you, Sophia. That's good presentation. So we go into the next presenter, that is Gina Naila. The time is yours.
Okay, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good evening, everyone. I am Gina Naila Putri Mahmuda, and today I would like to present my seminar proposal entitled An Analysis of Word-for-Word Translation Problems in English Translation Among 11th Grade Indonesian Senior High School Students. So this study focuses on how grade 11 students often experience difficulties in translating English into Indonesian, especially when they translate sentences literally word by word without considering context and the meaning. Next slide. Okay, first let me explain the background of the study. So English plays an important role as an international language, especially in education and communication. So one important skill in learning English is translation because it helps students understand words, phrase, and text. However, one common problem is word-for-word translation, where students translate every single word directly without considering context. For example, the sentence she is under the weather is often translated literally into dia berada di bawah cuaca, which is incorrect. So the correct meaning is dia sedang kurang sehat. This problem is especially common among 11th grade students because at this level, they begin learning more complex text and expression. Okay, the reason why I specifically choose 11th grade student is very important. At this level, students are in an intermediate stage of English learning, so they have already learned narrative text, recount text, descriptive text, and analytical exposition text. So these text types require contextual understanding, not only word meaning. So this is why grade 11 become a critical stage. So students still tend to use literal translation habits, but at the same time, they are already dealing with more complex language structure. That is why research especially focus on grade 11 students. Okay, this study is guided by three research questions. First, what type of word-for-word translation problem are found among students? And then the second, what factor cause students use this translation method? And then the third, how does it affect translation quality? Okay, the next is the objective of the study. So the objectives are aligned with the research question. The study aims to identify the problem types, analyze the cause, and explain the impact on student translation quality. And now is the literature review. So in the literature review, this study used translation theory by Nida and Taber. They explain that translation is not only changing words, but transferring meaning naturally from source language to target language. This theory support the ideas that context and meaning are more important than literal word translation. Okay, so there are 4 main types of translation problem. The first is lexical error, which involve incorrect word choices. And then the second is grammatical error, such as wrong sentence structure. And then the third is semantic error, when the meaning change. And then the fourth is idiomatic and culture error, especially when expression are translated literally. And then cause. So the causes include limited vocabulary, lack of grammar mastery, and then interference from Indonesian sentence structure depends on direct dictionary or Google Translate, and then a lack of contextual understanding. Okay, so the study used descriptive qualitative research. So the participants are approximately 11 grade students selected through proposed sampling, and then the research used an error analysis approach to identify requiring a translation pattern. Okay, the instrument is a translation task consisting of 10 English sentence and 1 short paragraph. So student will complete the text individually, and then the data collected will be their translated text. Okay, so the expected finding are frequent literal translation pattern, grammatical problem, and misunderstanding of idiomatic expression. So this issue may reduce accuracy and clarity, and then the naturalness. Okay, so in conclusion, this study is important because grade 11 students are at the crucial stage of language development, and then the findings are expected to help teachers improve translation teaching strategies and reduce word-for-word translation habits. Okay, thank you for your attention. Is there any question? If it's not, wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Okay, waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. All right, thank you, Gina. That's great presentation. We're going to the next presenter, the 10th presenter, that is Lubna Cahya. Okay, Lubna, time is yours.
Okay, thank you, moderator. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Lubna. Hello, everyone. I would like to present my seminar proposal entitled Improving Student Translation Skill Through Meaning-Based Translation Learning at Grade 11 of Seman Satsar. Okay, first is background. Translation is an important skill in learning English because it helps students understand meaning and also express ideas in another language but in reality, many students still have difficulties. They usually translate word by word, so the result sound unnatural and sometimes the meaning is wrong. This show that students still don't really understand the context and meaning when translated. Okay, so the main problem here is student focus too much on individual words, not the whole meaning. Because of that, their translation is often inaccurate and doesn't match the original message. To solve this, I use meaning-based translation learning. In this approach, students learn to understand the context, sentence structure, and overall meaning first before translating. So hopefully their translation will be more natural and accurate. Okay, next is research question. For the research question is how does meaning-based translation learning improve students' translation skill? And the objective of this study is to find out how this method can improve students' translation, especially in terms of accuracy, naturalness, and clarity. Okay, now for the theory, translation is not just changing word, but transferring meaning. Then word for word translation is when students translate each word directly. And this often causes problems because every language has different structures. Meanwhile, meaning-based translation focus on understanding and the message first. So students consider context, grammar, and purpose of the text. This approach helps them produce better translation. Okay, for the previous studies show that many students have difficulty in translation because they don't understand the context. They also still depend on word-for-word translation. So these studies support the idea that meaning-based to improve student skill. Okay, next is conceptual framework. In this study, I assume that translation learning should focus on meaning, not just words. By applying meaning-based translation learning, students are expected to improve their translation ability and produce better results. Okay, for the research design, the study use a qualitative research design because I want to focus not only on the result but also on the learning process and how students improve. And I use descriptive method to explain the finding clearly. Okay, for the participant are grade 11 students of Semansat Serang. They are chosen because many of them still have problems in translation, and I will take one class as the sample. Okay, for the instrument and data collection, this study used 3 instruments. There are translation tests, observation, and document. For data collection, there are 3 stages. First, pre-test to see students' initial ability. Second is treatment, where the students learn meaning-based translation. The third is post-test to see their improvement. Okay, for the data analysis, the data will be analyzed by comparing pre-test and post-test results. I will focus on 3 aspects: accuracy, naturalness, and clarity. From this, we can see whether the method is effective or not. Okay, finally, this study is expected to show that meaning-based translation learning can improve students' translation skill. Students can produce more natural and accurate translation, and this method can also help teacher use better strategies in teaching translation. Okay, that's all for my presentation. Thank you for your attention. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Okay, thank you, Lukna. That's a great presentation. So we go into the last presenter, that is Dina Yunitasari. Dina, time is yours.
Okay, thank you for the moderator. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for the opportunity given to me to present my research proposal. The title of my research is Students' Strategies in Understanding Descriptive Text Among 8th Grade Students. In this presentation, I will explain the background of the study, the research question, review studies, and the research methodology. The next is introduction. Reading is one of the most important skills in learning English. Through reading, students can develop their vocabulary and improve their understanding of the language. It also plays an important role in student academic success. However, in reality, many students still face difficulties in reading. Based on PICA results, Indonesian students' reading ability is still relatively low. Many students can read the text, but they do not fully understand it. For example, they often have difficulties in understanding unfamiliar vocabulary, identifying the main idea, and understanding the overall meaning of the text. In junior high school, students are introduced to several types of the text, including descriptive text. This type of text is used to describe a person, place, or object in detail. However, many students still find it difficult to understand descriptive text. Because of these difficulties, students usually use different strategies such as rereading the text, translating difficult words, or guessing the meaning from context. Even though strategies are important, most previous studies focus more on teaching strategies used by teachers, not on strategies used by students themselves. Therefore, the study focuses on exploring students in understanding descriptive text. Our next is research question and objective. Based on the background, the research question of study is what strategies do 8th grade students use in understanding descriptive text? And the objective of this study is to explore and identify the strategies used by students when they read descriptive text. So, next is previous studies. Studies have reading and reading stages in English learning. For example, William Grabe, 2008, explains that reading is a complex process that requires students to use strategies in order to understand the text. In addition, Rebecca Oxford, 1990, explains that learning strategies help students make learning more effective and improve comprehension. Moreover, Christine Nuttall, 2005, highlights that reading comprehension involves understanding vocabulary, identifying main ideas, and interpreting media. These studies show that strategies are very important in reading comprehension. However, most of these studies focus on teaching strategies used by teachers. Meanwhile, research that explores students' own strategies especially in understanding descriptive text at the junior high school level, is still limited. This is the research gap that this study aims to address. For the next is research methodology. This study uses a qualitative research design because it aims to explore student experiences and strategies in understanding text. For the participants of this study are 8th grade students, around 20 until 58 grade students selected by using sampling because they have already learned descriptive text in English. For the data collection, this study uses two instruments. First, a questionnaire, which is distributed through Google Form. The questionnaire consists of open-ended questions to identify the strategies used by students when reading descriptive text. The second, interviews are conducted with around 5 to 8 selected students. The interviews are semi-structured, which means the researcher prepares some question but can also ask additional questions based on student responses. For the data analysis, this study uses qualitative analysis, including 3 steps: data reduction, data display, and conclusion drawing. Through these steps, the research will identify and interpret the strategies used by students in understanding descriptive text. So, for conclusion, the study focuses on exploring student strategies in understanding descriptive text. It is expected that the findings of this study can help students improve their reading comprehension and help teachers develop better teaching strategies. Thank you for your attention. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Okay, thank you, Dina. That's great presentation. So that is the last presenter of this meeting. So we're going to the next session, that is Q&A session. So everyone who want to ask a question for the presenter, just raise your hand and open mics. Say. Okay, there's Muhammad Nazril Ada. Can ask your question.
Also, I would like to ask about Lubna proposal. So it's about translation, right? So let's say like there's two students produce a different, let's say, translation, but both are acceptable. So how do you decide which one is better, and what criteria makes your assessment?
I want to ask questions. Can I?
Okay.
I want.
Mutia, just ask
Okay.
your question.
I want to ask Sophia. So, from your proposal, why did you choose this topic, and what is the urgency from your topic?
Okay. Is there anyone to ask me question? Okay, I think not. Okay, so the presenter who asking can answer question, just open mic.
Okay. Hello, I'm Lubna Syamati. I will answer Nazril question. If two students produce different translation but both are acceptable, I wouldn't immediately say one is wrong. Instead, I compare the quality based on clear criteria. First, I look at accuracy. which translation conveys the original meaning more completely, including subtle meaning or context. Second, naturalness, which one sound more like a real language, not like a direct translation. And the third is clarity, which one is easier to understand for the reader. To make the assessment reliable, I use a clear rubric with this criteria, not just personal judgment. Also, consistency is important. Every student should be evaluated using the same standard. If possible, having more than one letter can also reduce bias. So the better translation is the one that communicates meaning more accurately, naturally, and clearly based on consistent criteria. That's the answer. Thank you.
Okay, Nazril, how about the answer?
That's a good answer. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, next question, presenter.
Yeah, I want to answer Mutia question. The question is, why did I choose this topic and what is the urgency? So I choose this topic because translation is still a common problem in EFL learning, especially in Indonesia. Many students rely on word-for-word translation, which leads to incorrect the meaning. So the urgency is that without understanding the causes of this difficulty, students will continue making the same mistake. So this should help improve translation teaching strategies. Is that answer your questions?
Yes, thank you, Sophia.
Yes.
All right, because there's no question from the participant, because this is the last session of this meeting. As your moderator, thank you for all participants and all presenter. Before we official close today's session, let us give a final round of applause to all of our presenters. All right, I wish our presenter the best of luck with the next step of the research. Thank you for your attention. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and have a great day and good night.
Waalaikumsalam.